In the early 19th century, the Bell family sought a fresh start on a serene homestead nestled along the tranquil banks of the Red River, Tennessee. John Bell, a hard-working farmer, his devoted wife Lucy, and their spirited children were filled with hope as they unpacked their belongings under the gentle warmth of the sun. But as dusk fell and shadows crept in, an unsettling silence enveloped the newly established home. It wasn't long before strange occurrences began to materialize. The walls creaked with a disquieting rhythm, and whispers, soft yet unnerving, seemed to drift through the bordering woods. John, ever the pragmatist, dismissed the sounds as the fabrications of local lore, tales spun by gossipy neighbors eager to entertain themselves. Yet Lucy, attuned to the nuances of the world around her, felt an ominous weight in the air, as if unseen eyes were watching their every move. As the nights grew longer, her unease deepened. She sensed an intangible presence that turned her peaceful home into a cauldron of foreboding. Distracted by daily chores, the children, especially Betsy, the bright-eyed youngest, dismissed the whispers as harmless tales. Yet Lucy could not shake the feeling that something sinister loomed just beyond the trees. The Bell family was blissfully unaware that they were about to be ensnared in a legend as old as the land itself, one that would challenge the very fabric of their reality. The tension in the air foreshadowed events that would soon unravel their lives, proving that tranquility is often a facade for darker truths waiting to emerge from the shadows. Little did they know, the whisper in the woods was merely the beginning, a harbinger of the unspeakable terror that was soon to invade their lives and test their deepest fears. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the Bell homestead, a heavy silence enveloped the land. The serenity of their rural Tennessee life was only a fragile facade, beginning to crack under the weight of something otherworldly. Strange disturbances infiltrated the family's daily routine. Items would inexplicably shift from their places. Shadows danced in the corners of their vision, and the eerily familiar sounds of gnawing and whispering grew louder in the stillness of the night. John Bell, patriarch of the family, shrugged off the odd occurrences, attributing them to local lore and the superstitions that often plague new settlers. However, his wife, Lucy, felt otherwise. An unsettling presence lurked just beyond the edge of their understanding, and her gut told her they were not alone. That night, as the family settled into their creaking beds, young Betsy Bell, John and Lucy's spirited daughter, drifted into a heavy slumber. In her dreams, she found herself in a dark, void-like place, eerily still except for the sound of rustling leaves. Suddenly, a ghostly figure appeared before her, a woman, her features obscured by shadow yet unmistakably alive with a cold and fierce energy. The phantom introduced herself as Kate, and in that moment, a chill danced down Betsy's spine. Conflicted by fear and intrigue, she awoke with a jolt, the name echoing in her mind, Kate Batts, the witch of town lore whom many believed had cursed their family from beyond the grave. The following days brought heightened chaos. Objects flew from tables, livestock suffered mysterious ailments, and those once peaceful whispers morphed into malevolent taunts. Betsy, once vibrant and full of life, became increasingly withdrawn, bearing the heavy weight of her night visitations. The rest of the family began to feel the strain, tensions rising and fears festering. As whispers of their hauntings spread through the town, fellow farmers and townsfolk began recalling tales about Kate Batts, a woman wronged in life, whose wrath now echoed through the very walls of their home. Driven by desperation, Lucy and John decided to delve deeper into the lore surrounding Kate Batts. They sought wisdom from their neighbors, piecing together the fragments of Kate's tragic story, a tale of betrayal, heartache, and a vengeful curse cast upon the Bell family for a past that John hadn't fully understood. As the atmosphere thickened with dread, an undeniable truth began to emerge. This was not just a story, but an unfolding nightmare that threatened to engulf them all. They stood on the precipice of a chilling reality, unaware that a malevolent force was drawing ever closer, preparing to tighten its grip around their lives. The whispers grew louder, melding into a haunting chorus, and Kate's looming presence promised that the true terror of their situation had only just begun. The haunting specter of the bell, which loomed ever larger as the family's plight grew more dire. Desperation gripped the Bell household like a tightening noose, as strange phenomena escalated and threatened to shatter their once peaceful existence. Determined to find answers, John and Lucy took their children, especially their brightest, Betsy, into town to uncover the truth about the ominous legend of Kate Bats. As they mingled with the townsfolk, whispered tales of Kate's wronged spirit emerged, painting a dark picture of a woman scorned, a past rich with betrayal and vengeance. The locals spoke in hushed tones of how Kate endured hardship at the hands of John Bell, who had wronged her over a simple transaction, a dispute over a slave, or so the story suggested. These tales wove a narrative of malice that suggested she had cursed the Bell family as an act of revenge, vowing that they would suffer for their injustices long after she'd left the earthly realm. Faced with the weight of this realization, the family returned home, tensions spilling over as they huddled in the dim light of their living room, seeking solace in each other. Yet, there would be no relief. Betsy, pale and trembling, began suffering from recurrent nightmares so vividly terrifying that they left her gasping for breath. She would often wake in the night, her screams echoing through the woods, adding to the dread that enveloped their home. As the young girl described visions of a shadowy figure named Kate that swept into her subconscious, the fear deepened. She recalled the ghostly appearance, the chilling touch, and the way Kate's laughter echoed in her ears. It became apparent that this wasn't merely a figment of the imagination. This was a confrontation with a force that transcended their understanding of life and death. Muddled by fear and desperation, John and Lucy gathered late into the night, unearthing old letters and accounts that spoke of Kate's tragic fate, trying to connect the dots. Every clue felt like a dagger, each revelation pulling at the seams of their reality. They learned that the spirit wasn't just a tormentor, she was a representation of their past guilt and the unresolved tensions that lingered within their home. As the truth sank in, so did the reality that they weren't facing merely a haunting. They were ensnared in a battle between vengeance and the vestiges of their own humanity. The Bell family now recognized that to confront Kate, they needed to confront their own past, acknowledge their failings, seek forgiveness, and perhaps uncover the dark shadows that had quietly taken root in their lives. Little did they know, the curse was far more intricate than they had thought, and the entity they sought to understand had a memory longer than theirs. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the Bell family found themselves shrouded in darkness, both outside and within. The haunting presence that had once seemed merely mischievous was now transforming into something far more sinister. Night after night, Lucy Bell lay awake, feeling the icy fingers of dread creeping up her spine as eerie whispers echoed through the wooden beams of their humble home. Each whisper seemed to curl around her thoughts, urging her to pay heed to the unseen malevolence that lurked just beyond her perception. John, initially skeptical of the ghostly happenings, now found himself at a precipice of belief. Yet, he stubbornly pressed on with his farming duties, trying to maintain a sense of normalcy. Little did he know, the very ground he trod upon was becoming a battleground, a stage for Kate Bat's dark intentions. As livestock began to exhibit inexplicable behavior, suffering inexplicable deaths that left each animal a hollow shell of its former self, John could no longer dismiss the ominous warnings that Martha, his neighbor, had shared. He felt a growing weight of despair. The witch's curse had seeped into every corner of their lives. Lucy's torment began to manifest physically. In the dead of night, she would be jolted from sleep to the sound of nails scraping against the walls, accompanied by faint, chilling laughter that resonated through the air. It was a sound too unnerving to ignore, the harbinger of imminent chaos that accompanied Kate's presence. In a desperate attempt to confront this unseen enemy, Lucy implored John to take a stand, to declare their home a sacred space untouched by whatever dark forces sought to invade it. But her pleas fell on deaf ears, drowned out by John's stubbornness and an ignorance born of fear. The spirit's antics turned crueler by the day. It toyed with the Bell family like a cat with a mouse, adapting, evolving, and intensifying its malevolence. The children, once bright with joy, now wore expressions marked by confusion and dread. Betsy's nightmares grew more vivid and terrifying. She would wake up in the dead of night, eyes wide open in panic, recounting encounters with the dark figure she now knew as Kate. Her once innocent dreams became tormented visions that spoke of vengeance and indicated a deeper connection to the spirit than any of them could understand. One fateful night, pushed to his limits, John confronted the air, bellowing through clenched teeth, demanding to know what Kate wanted from them. The room fell silent, and for a fleeting moment, the house seemed to hold its breath. Only the crackling of the dying fire echoed, until a low, sinister voice seeped out of the darkness. It slithered through the room, filling every crevice with unspeakable dread, before letting out a piercing, maniacal laughter that extinguished the last flickers of John's resolve. The atmosphere shifted, thickening with an oppressive energy that seemed to envelop them like a suffocating cloak. The family felt the walls close in around them, the very foundation quaking underfoot. In that moment, the Bell family understood that their folly had made them pawns in a game far beyond their comprehension. Their fate rested in the hands of a vengeful spirit that remained determined to reclaim its accuracy, and they now had no choice but to confront the shadows that lurked at the edge of their reality. As Lucy grasped her husband's hand, they shared a knowing glance, one that conveyed the unspoken fear that they had yet to fully acknowledge. The battle with Kate Batts had only just begun, and the witching hour had cemented their terrifying journey into a realm of darkness that would test their very souls. As the Bell family grappled with the escalating hauntings, the atmosphere inside their once peaceful home grew increasingly tense. No longer just a specter of whispers and rustling, Kate's presence morphed into a malevolent force that plagued their daily lives. John and Lucy awoke to the heart-wrenching cries of their livestock, which seemed to die one by one under mysterious circumstances, leaving the family in deep sorrow and confusion. Betsy, who had initially found herself curiously drawn to the ghostly figure known as Kate, began to develop an unsettling bond with the entity that left her parents fearful for her safety. Strange conversations echoed through the dim hallways at night, and the girl's laughter turned hollow and eerie as she recounted tales told by Kate. "She says she wants to play," Betsy would innocently say, but beneath her bright eyes, a darkness flickered that unsettled her family. Lucy often saw her daughter staring off into spaces that no living being occupied, talking animatedly to someone that wasn't there. It was as if the lines separating the living from the dead had become dangerously thin. Desperation, mixed with fear, led John and Lucy to seek out help from local mediums and self-proclaimed spiritualists. Each visit brought dubious promises of protection and cleansing, but they often left behind more confusion than clarity. As the nights grew darker, the whispers morphed into threatening voices, echoing menacing laughter that filled the corners of their home. Lucy felt invisible fingers tugging at her hair while she prepared dinner, and John often found objects thrown across rooms when no one else was around. Most chilling of all was Betsy's nightly routines, where she would often emerge from her dreams, wide-eyed and restless, claiming that Kate instructed her to play cruel games with her siblings. "She's taught me how to make them cry," she would sing, the innocent tone twisting into something grotesque as she revealed the sinister guidance of the spirit. Each interaction left John and Lucy reeling, their parental instincts screaming for protection but feeling utterly impotent against the paranormal onslaught. With every passing day, the Bell family's home transformed into a battleground between the known and the unknown. They could sense the sheer malevolence radiating from Kate, and yet the fear of losing Betsy kept them tethered, unwilling to sever the bond she had formed with the apparition. Little did they know that as the curse intensified, the entity was patiently waiting, biding its time to unleash unspeakable terror upon them all. The shadows thickened, and with every heartbeat, the Bell family was drawn deeper into the sinister web woven by the Bell Witch, until the moment of reckoning would finally reveal the true price of their haunting. The oppressive air in the Bell family home had taken on a weight that felt unshakable. Whispers of terror wafted through the hallways like an insidious fog. As the townsfolk became increasingly curious about the strange happenings surrounding the Bells, a steady stream of gossip filled the air, drawing the attention of onlookers and the curious alike. That curiosity soon transformed into spectacle, and the property became a focal point for those hungry to witness Kate's wrath firsthand, some with eager anticipation, others with a morbid fascination. A celebrity preacher, renowned for his charismatic sermons on good versus evil, made his way to the Bell homestead, declaring it a meeting ground for spirits, his words igniting the townsfolk's fear and intrigue alike. As the spectacle unfolded, tension mounted within the family. Betsy, once a plucky and spirited child, began to exhibit changes that unnerved her parents. Her laughter, which once echoed joyfully in the gloaming light, now harbored a chilling edge. In her eyes flickered a darkness that seemed to stretch well beyond her age. It was clear to Lucy and John that Kate's influence had seeped deeper into their daughter's soul than their worst fears had predicted. When Betsy started insisting that they should listen to Kate, her seemingly benign laughter morphing into eerie chants, her parents could no longer dismiss the severity of their situation. Desperate, they sought the guidance of local mediums, figures notorious for their dubious claims and slippery morality. These spiritual guides, though colorful in their promises of salvation, offered little more than half measures cloaked in vague incantations. Still, Lucy clung to them, hoping against hope that these rituals could unfurl the fabric of the veil draped over their lives, granting them a reprieve from the pulsing malevolence. But the situation spiraled further out of control as crowds began to gather outside, shadows converging at the edge of their property. Peering into their world, they watched the family's plight unfold as if it were some ghastly show. The weight of public attention coiled around the Bells, intensifying their afflictions. The insights of inexperience only fueled the ire of Kate, who reveled in the family's crumbling spirit. As night fell, a palpable tension hung as Betsy succumbed to night terrors, her screams echoing through the homestead, mingling with the mocking whispers of Kate. It became hard to distinguish the line between dreams and reality. The family's shared anguish morphed into a collective nightmare, each member haunted by Kate's vengeful spirit. The once ordinary house that had welcomed them now felt like a living entity, steeped in darkness, eager to consume them whole. One stormy evening, amid wild winds and furious rain, Betsy underwent a terrifying transformation. Witnessing her daughter's descent twisted a knife in Lucy's heart. Betsy trembled as she spoke in a voice not her own, declaring that Kate was hungry for something more than mere chaos. She desired the very souls of the Bell family. As the room flooded with whispers, the burden of fear weighed heavier than the very walls around them. The entity had entwined itself with the last shreds of hope, leaving the family helpless and on the brink of despair. In the ensuing chaos, the Bells were forced to confront the very essence of their reality, whether they would resist the encroaching shadows or succumb to the darkness that loomed ever closer, threatening to envelop them in its sinister embrace. As echoes of laughter turned to cries within the night, the stage was set for an inevitable clash, one that would reveal the true depth of their terror, pushing them toward a precipice from which they might never return. The once sturdy walls of the Bell home, which had sheltered the family from the outside world, now felt like a claustrophobic prison, closing in on them as tensions soared. John and Lucy, their faces drawn with worry, faced the grim reality that their lives had become a waking nightmare. The malevolent presence of Kate had intensified, twisting their home into a theater of chaos. Shouts and whispers filled the air at night, as Lucy lay awake, Haunted by unholy murmurs promising her family's destruction, John, burdened by the weight of failure, felt his resolve crumbling and took to pacing the floor, the shadows dancing like specters in the flickering light. Despite the love for their children, the strain of their supernatural affliction put John and Lucy's marriage on the brink of collapse. Their arguments flared like fire, each blaming the other for the curse that had befallen them, while fear gripped their hearts. The children, innocent in all this, wandered through the tumult, their laughter displaced by Kate's lurking presence. When Betsy, their youngest, became increasingly withdrawn, conversing with the air around her, John and Lucy felt a chill in their bones. They were losing her to the darkness. Desperation drove them to seek help, but they found no solace from the various charlatans and spiritualists who claimed they could end their torment. Instead, these dubious figures added fuel to the fire, promising liberation through rituals that often spiraled into chaos. One fateful night, a ritual was conducted with the hopes of purging the spirit that clung to their lives like a persistent shadow. As the flickering candles cast an eerie glow, Lucy felt an electric pull in the air, an ominous signal that something was terribly wrong. The chants rose to a fevered pitch, and suddenly, the air thickened, pulsating with energy. The indescribable happened as the very essence of their belongings began to lose cohesion, as if Kate's wrath was transforming the mundane into weapons of terror. Chairs skidded across the floor, tools rattled violently, and the sound of shattering glass echoed with an otherworldly finality. Then came the moment of complete chaos, fury unleashed in a whirlwind of screams. The children, terrified, scattered into the dark corners of the home, searching for safety as the embodiment of their fears materialized throughout the chaos. As Lucy and John desperately reached for their children, they found themselves ensnared in a tempest where the boundaries of love and fear blurred into oblivion. The children were engulfed in a terrifying sight. They witnessed, with horror, the sinister manifestations of their once tranquil home devolving into madness. Just when it seemed that the very ground beneath them would swallow them whole, Lucy and John locked eyes, realizing they were at the precipice of losing everything that mattered to them. The family, now more fragmented than ever, stood amid the ruins of their home in pain as Kate's wicked laughter rang out, heralding their impending descent into a darkness that threatened to consume them all. As the Bell family stood on the precipice of despair, they knew there was no turning back from the horror that had entwined itself around their lives. With their home transformed into a battleground of supernatural chaos, they summoned every ounce of courage they could muster to seek a final resolution to the torment brought upon them by the vengeful spirit known as Kate. In the dim light of flickering candles, the family gathered in the parlor, each haunted gaze met with a mix of determination and dread as they prepared for the climactic confrontation. Hard spiritualists, equipped with their dubious charms and remnants of prayers, filled the room with an air of both hope and skepticism. They set up an altar, surrounding it with artifacts believed to ward off spirits and restore peace. The family held hands, their bodies trembling, as they entered a chant designed to draw Kate into their midst. As their voices rose together, the atmosphere crackled with tension, and the very air felt charged with malicious energy. Shadows danced around them, bending and twisting in unnatural ways that echoed the torment now etched in their souls. Suddenly, a chilling silence enveloped the room. The temperature plummeted, forcing breath to escape in white puffs that hung in the air like ghostly apparitions. As the candles flickered violently, Kate's presence materialized, a figure cloaked in darkness, the outline of anger and sorrow. Her eyes glowed with a fearsome light, a malevolence that spoke of centuries of suffering that now sought to reclaim its place in the living world. The Bell family trembled before her, their fear palpable, but they knew they could not falter. This was their last chance to save Betsy from the clutches of the enraged spirit. As they attempted to communicate with her, desperate cries filled the air, pleas for forgiveness, explanations of their innocence, and promises that they would right the wrongs of the past. Yet, Kate's voice sliced through their words like a dagger, twisted and filled with venom. She revealed the scars of betrayal that marred her existence, how she had been wronged, not only by John Bell, but by the entire world that had condemned her. The pain and rage surged within her, threatening to overflow. What began as a confrontation to quell her fury transformed into a nightmarish struggle against a woman unjustly scorned, both a victim and a monster. The Bell family became desperate. In a moment of sheer panic, Lucy stepped forward, her heart racing with the weight of her family's suffering. She pleaded for understanding, for empathy towards a soul in torment. But Kate was unforgiving. In an explosive confrontation, the entity's true power emerged, sending objects hurtling through the air. Furniture toppled, windows shattered, and the air was filled with din, chaos that mirrored the unraveling of the Bell family's psyche. Betsy, caught between her loyalty to her family and the insidious influence of Kate that had claimed her mind, began to twitch as if struggling to break free from the binding hold of the entity. The room quaked as the spirit fought for control of the young girl, twisting her essence until it became a vessel of rage. John, horrified, realized the price his family would pay for their actions, one destined to face the shadows of their past. In the frenzy that ensued, the family was forced to confront not only the malevolent force of Kate, but their own deepest fears and regrets. Each raised voice, each accusation hurled, cracked the fragile foundation of their bonds. Secrets long buried surfaced, and trust frayed as accusations replaced compassion. They found themselves not only battling Kate's fury, but the ghost of their own collective guilt, spiraling into chaos. The desperate fight reached a fever pitch. As the air crackled with spiritual energy, they had to summon every ounce of their strength and love to resist Kate's darkness. Time ebbed around them, suspending their fate between light and dark. What would they become if they surrendered to despair? Amid the chaos, a realization dawned. They had to unify as a family to conquer Kate. Facing her true essence, they channeled their love, their pain, and their memories as a lifeline, shifting their focus from revenge to understanding, perhaps the only path to liberation. As the episode drew to a breathtaking climax, will the family find the key to banishing Kate's dark influence? Or will they be swallowed by the very spirits they sought to confront? With the stakes at their highest, they braced themselves for the unimaginable, knowing the next moment could seal their fate forever. The air was thick with unease as the Bell family stood on the precipice of despair, the haunting wails of the spirit Kate reverberating through their very existence. After countless ghostly encounters, and the transformation of their beloved daughter Betsy into a chilling conduit of Kate's rage, hope felt irretrievably lost. Desperate for resolution, John Bell made a harrowing choice. He decided to confront the spirit directly, willing to accept the pain that haunted them in exchange for the safety of his family. As dread enveloped the Bell home, the young Betsy, now entirely consumed by Kate's dark influence, delivered an ultimatum that sent shivers down their spines. "Someone must pay," she said, her voice layered with a chilling resonance that was both her own and something far more sinister, for the sins of the past. The weight of her words hung heavy in the air, a curse that threatened to unravel the very fabric of their family. Each family member felt it, the guilt of decisions they had made, the fractures in their relationships, and the haunting legacy of a past they thought they could abandon. Emotions ran high and reality blurred as the family faced inner demons alongside Kate's fury. Tension mounted, leading to a confrontation where accusations flew like daggers. Lucy, overwhelmed by guilt and fear, berated John for his past grievances that had awakened Kate's wrath, while John, feeling cornered, blamed Lucy for the turmoil that had befallen them all. The surroundings trembled with a palpable energy, as if the house itself were echoing their pain. In the midst of this turmoil, the figure of Kate manifested more vividly than ever, an apparition cloaked in darkness with piercing eyes that seemed to peer into their very souls. The room chilled, whispers and laughter filled the air, and agitated shadows flitted at the corners of their vision. It was in this moment that John, desperate to change the course of doom hanging above them, offered himself as a sacrifice, embracing the turmoil and anguish the spirit desired. He believed that by confronting Kate, he might unravel the curse bound to his family. This desperate gamble sent shockwaves through the household. The atmosphere crackled with tension, and reality began to fold as Kate revealed her true malevolence. The Bell family would soon discover that dark intentions can twist any light, and the cost of their survival could lead to an irrevocable sacrifice, a betrayal that would haunt them in ways they could never imagine. With darkness closing in, and the family's trust teetering on the brink, John and Lucy fought against Kate's relentless insistence for blood, each step forward driven by a mixture of love and fear for their children, especially for Betsy, who stood at the heart of this harrowing reckoning. As the night darkened, a storm brewed, reflecting the chaos within, echoing the questions that lay ahead. Who truly is the monster in this tale? And at what cost would they seek their salvation? The Bell family was caught in a web of complex emotions, deep-seated loyalty, and the undeniable specter of past sins, leading toward a chilling climax where the true essence of revenge and forgiveness would be put to the ultimate test. The Bell family's final showdown with the malevolent spirit known as Kate Batts loomed over them like a dark cloud, pressuring them into dismantling the curse that had tormented their lives for so long. John, feeling the weight of desperation, turned to the spirit, offering to embrace the pain it demanded, a willing sacrifice for the safety of his family. As Betsy, once a spirited child, transformed into a vessel for Kate's anger, she spoke ominously, delivering an ultimatum that echoed through the air like a death knell. Someone must pay for your past sins. In that moment, the tension skyrocketed as each family member was forced to confront not just Kate, but their hidden guilt, regrets, and unresolved conflicts. Lucy's weary eyes revealed the strain of countless sleepless nights, tormented by whispers that pulled her deeper into despair. John, keenly aware of his limitations, felt an overwhelming sense of failure for allowing their haunted existence to spiral so far beyond control. As they stood together, the family dynamic fractured, trust eroded under the weight of fear and blame. The Bell home, once a sanctuary, had transformed into a battleground, charged with supernatural energy. The air crackled with suspense as Kate, now fully manifesting within the room, exuded an aura of cold malevolence. Her incorporeal form twisted and writhed, morphing into something grotesque and terrifying, amplifying the darkness that enveloped them. The family stood paralyzed by fear, their darkest fears reflected in the very fiend who haunted their memories and dreams. In a desperate attempt to reclaim their power, John embraced the pain she inflicted, allowing himself to be vulnerable before the spirit. "I will take the burden," he declared, his voice steady yet trembling, unsure of what this acceptance would entail. Betsy convulsed, caught in the crossfire of emotions and spirits, her body racked with torment as she channeled Kate's wrath. Shadows danced along the walls, echoing the conflict that raged within her as the spirit fought to maintain control over its reluctant puppet. As the confrontation reached its fever pitch, the past was laid bare, the sins and betrayals that had woven the fabric of their lives now converging upon them with a deafening roar. Each family member's silence crumbled under the echoes of unspoken truths, leaving only the raw, biting reality of their flawed humanity. With vulnerable hearts, they finally spoke their truths, confronting the decisions that had shaped their lives, forcing Kate's power to ebb ever so slightly. But the reckoning was not without its cost. Shards of betrayal cut deep, revealing how isolation within their family had allowed Kate's grip to tighten. John and Lucy's marriage strained to the breaking point as they battled guilt while trying to protect Betsy from the darkness. Their unity, once a source of strength, now felt fragile as accusations flew like arrows amidst the chaos. In the heart of the storm, a choice lay before them: a chance to free themselves from Kate's clutches or accept that some resentments were destined to shadow their lives forever. As they made their final stand, Kate's shrieks pierced the air, echoing their chaos, offering a price that neither could fully comprehend. In that heart-stopping moment, the family banded together against the ominous specter of Kate, hoping against hope that love and honesty would be their salvation. The outcome hung in the balance, either liberation from Kate's eternal fury or eternal damnation as her chosen pawns. As they felt their connection solidify, understanding that they had forsaken their divisions for a united front, the air trembled with palpable energy. The struggle between the living, as they faced the insatiable darkness aiming to reclaim what belonged to her, encapsulated a harrowing truth: redemption could emerge from pain, or damnation could take root in silence. As the season culminated in this climactic final episode of the Bell family's harrowing saga, the boundary between good and evil blurred. The heart-wrenching reality was laid bare, leaving the audience questioning not just the myth of the Bell Witch, but the very nature of morality itself. Would they reclaim their lives, or would they forever remain entwined with Kate's haunting legacy, a chilling reminder that some spirits, and the wounds they inflict, can never truly be laid to rest? The very fabric of belief in the supernatural hung in the air, whispering promises and threats alike, echoing the haunting notion that the darkness may always return. In the aftermath of their turmoil, the Bell family faces long-lasting repercussions of their encounters. The legend of the Bell Witch becomes etched in local history, with whispers and rumors reminding us that some spirits are never truly laid to rest. Each episode ends with chilling warnings and remnants of Kate's influence, suggesting that her presence still lingers in the shadows, waiting for the next soul to torment.